man's trembling hands pour oil into a grotesque lamp shaped like a horned beast. His eyes are wild, fixed on the tiny flame dancing inside. All around him, shadows cavort, the silhouette of a bowing devil and the faint shapes of animals rearing on hind legs. He is utterly alone in this nightmare, yet he feels the hot breath of evil at his neck. In his mind, one simple truth thunders: if that flame dies, he will die with it. What has driven this man into such terror? This eerie scene is not from a horror film or a fever dream, but from a painting, one of Francisco Goya's most haunting masterpieces. The Bewitched Man, also known as the Devil's Lamp, is a small oil painting completed around 1798, and within its dark confines lies a secret satire of superstition, a critique of a society in fear, and a psychological portrait of madness. Stay with us as we unravel the hidden story behind this painting, a story of a mind bewitched by belief, and discover how Goya turned comedy into horror to reveal a terrifying truth about the human psyche. What hidden cost of belief does this image reveal? By the end, you may find that the only real demon in this painting is lurking far closer than we think. Francisco Goya's The Bewitched Man depicts Don Claudio desperately pouring oil into a monstrous lamp while a mocking devil bows before him and ghostly beasts dance in the shadows. Goya painted the scene, one of 6 witchcraft-themed works commissioned by the enlightened Duke and Duchess of Osuna, with a palette dominated by murky blacks and grays, punctuated only by the tiny orange flame of the lamp. In the dim enclosure of the painting, we see a man in a long black robe, frozen in a grotesque pose of fear. This is Don Claudio, and he believes he has been bewitched by an evil spell. His life, he thinks, is bound to the light of that lamp, clutched by a fiendish figure before him. The lamp itself is nearly as large as Claudio, shaped like an almost life-size ram, a horned animal symbol often linked to the devil. Claudio leans forward desperately, eagerly pouring oil into the lamp's opening to keep its flame alive. His face is lit in flickering orange, contorted in absolute, all-consuming terror. Every muscle in his body strains. He is like a man trying to hold back death itself. Opposite him, the devil stands holding the lamp. Goya paints the devil not as a raging beast, but as a sinister gentleman in a tricorn hat, bent in a mocking bow while presenting the lamp to Claudio. This devil's posture is almost polite, a mock, helpful bow of obsequiousness, but there's a wicked grin on his face. He is toying with the terrified man, indulging in the cruel joke. Behind them, the room dissolves into shadowy chaos. Ghostly donkeys, or perhaps horses, dance on their hind legs in the murk beyond the lamplight. Their forms are pale and absurd, like phantoms put on stage for a macabre play. In Goya's visual language, donkeys symbolize folly, stupidity, and ignorance. Their ghostly dance is a silent laugh at Don Claudio's expense, a hint that this entire scene is an elaborate farce. Look closely at the bottom right of the canvas and you'll find words inscribed in Spanish: Lámpara descomunal, monstrous lamp. These are the very words Don Claudio cries out in his panic. To him, this bizarre lamp has become a monstrous instrument of fate. As long as its flame burns, he lives. If it dies, he believes he will perish. We, the viewers, have stumbled into the middle of his nightmare, a nightmare he accepts as reality. The atmosphere is oppressive and otherworldly. The high contrast of the lamplight makes shadows dance larger than life on the walls, and the confined space feels like the cell of the mind. Goya's brush conjures up the intangible presence of fear itself in the form of flickers and phantoms. And yet, as real as Claudio's terror is, something about this scene is strange. The devil's exaggerated courtesy, the absurdity of a man's life tied to a lamp, the dancing donkeys. It all feels like a dark joke. Is this a diabolical prank rather than a genuine possession? Goya has dropped clues like puzzle pieces across the canvas. This is the world of the Bewitched Man, and we are about to discover that it is equal parts comedy and horror, a carefully staged illusion that holds a mirror to the follies of an entire society. At first glance, the bewitched man looks like a scene of pure supernatural horror, a priest tormented by demons. But Goya wants us to take a second glance, to notice the hints of farce lurking in the darkness. The truth is, the painting is based on a satirical play that was well known in Spain, a play that used laughter to dispel fear. Over a century before Goya painted this scene, in 1698, playwright Antonio de Zamora wrote El Hechizado por Fuerza, The Man Bewitched by Force, a comedy about tricking a man into believing he's bewitched. Goya plucks this comical story and transforms it into something visually terrifying. Yet the DNA of satire remains in the details. In Zamora's play, Don Claudio is not truly cursed. He's the victim of an elaborate hoax. Claudio is a devout priest who is being frightened into marriage with Doña Leonora. Since a man of the cloth would ordinarily never marry, his scheming relatives and acquaintances resort to trickery. They convince him that a young servant girl, Lucia, has bewitched him and that his life is supernaturally tied to a lamp in her room. The poor man, believing himself ensnared by dark magic, is told that only by marrying Leonora will the curse be lifted. It's a ridiculous premise meant to provoke laughter at Claudio's gullibility. The audience knows he's perfectly fine, but Claudio is duped into a panic. Goya's painting captures the climactic moment of this farce. Don Claudio, thoroughly convinced of the curse, frantically refills the lamp's oil to prevent its flame from dying. On stage, this scene would have been played for laughs. Imagine an actor wildly overacting, his fear, eyes bulging, and limbs shaking, while others dressed as devils prance around him. Indeed, Goya gives Claudio an exaggerated pose and staring eyes, meant to make us laugh at his gullibility. The devil's theatrical bow and the ludicrous dancing monkeys painted on the wall are cues that this is a mockery of superstition, a scene of folly rather than real witchcraft. Yet leave it to Goya to turn a comedy into a psychological horror show. While the play intended the audience to chuckle at Don Claudio, Goya's painting makes us also feel for him. He doesn't look like a mere buffoon. He looks genuinely haunted. The scene is lit as if it were a nightmare manifest, deep shadows and a single desperate light. Claudio's fear is almost palpable through the canvas. We find ourselves in a darkly comic paradox. We know Claudio's terror is based on a lie, yet the intensity of his fear is so human and so real that it stops the laugh in our throat. The folly of superstition makes us smile at its silliness, even as we shudder at how easily a mind can be ensnared by it. Goya's genius lies in this very tension. It's as if Goya is saying, look how foolish this man is, and look how easily you could be that man. All it takes is a well-crafted lie and a dose of fear. To fully grasp the power of the bewitched man, we must step into Goya's world. Spain, at the twilight of the 18th century, this was a country caught in a battle between Enlightenment and Inquisition, reason and superstition. Francisco Goya, though a court painter, was a quiet revolutionary in paint. He was a firm proponent of the Enlightenment, that movement championing logic, science, and progress over ancient fear. At the same time, Spain's reactionary forces were pushing back, clinging to old dogmas. The Spanish Inquisition, though not as ferocious as in past centuries, was still very much alive, promoting strict Catholic orthodoxy and persecuting Jews and Muslims while stoking fear of heresy and witchcraft. Goya's painting can be seen as a protest in disguise. By depicting a bewitched man as a figure of ridicule and pity, he mocks the very idea that demons and sorcery hold real power. After all, what could be a more pointed satire than showing that a devil's power evaporates the moment one stops believing in it? Remember, in the story, Don Claudio's torment ends as soon as he learns it was a ruse. The demon was never real. Goya takes this moment and shines a light on Spain's own folly, the nation's dogmatic adherence to medieval beliefs that he believed was holding it back. The folly of superstition is illustrated clearly in this work, just as Goya would illustrate it again and again in his career. Crucially, The Bewitched Man was not a public altarpiece or royal commission meant for wide eyes. It was a private commission for one of the most progressive, free-thinking couples in Spain, the Duke and Duchess of Osuna. These aristocrats were Goya's loyal patrons and dear friends. known for their interest in the arts and their criticism of the church's more oppressive tendencies. It was a dangerous game, of course. Mocking superstition had to be done carefully in a land where the church still held sway. To an unsuspecting eye, it's just a witchcraft tale, but to those attuned, it's biting social commentary. Goya effectively asked, who is the real bewitched man here? Is it just Don Claudio, or is it all of Spain for believing in such devilry? By painting Claudio's torment as both laughable and pitiable, Goya suggests that an entire nation in the thrall of superstition is just as laughable and just as tragic. This political and cultural layer adds tremendous depth to the painting. Suddenly, the dancing donkeys are not just spirits teasing one man, they are Spain itself dancing in ignorance, led by the devil of superstition. The devil bowing with the lamp might even be seen as the embodiment of the Inquisition or corrupt clergy, deceptively courteous as it presents the fatal lie that keeps Claudio in fear. It's a devil of our own making, given power by the credulity of its victims. In Goya's enlightened view, the real cost of such belief was the stagnation of an entire society, trapped in fear while the modern world moved forward. While The Bewitched Man began as a comedic tale, Goya's rendition zeroes in on something far more universal and unsettling: the psychology of fear. Don Claudio's ordeal may have been a prank, but the painting forces us to witness the authentic torment it inflicted on his mind. In doing so, Goya transforms Claudio into a symbol of anyone whose mind teeters on the brink between reality and delusion. The fear painted on his features is so raw that it transcends the comedic setup. Goya understood something profound, that belief can be as powerful as truth. To Claudio, the threat of the curse is real, and so his body and mind react with genuine terror, perhaps even pushing him to a mental breakdown. In this, the painting is as much about mental illness as it is about superstition. Claudio's condition resembles what we today call an acute anxiety attack or paranoid delusion. Francisco Goya had a personal interest in the fragility of the human mind. Just a few years before painting The Bewitched Man, Goya himself suffered a mysterious illness that left him completely deaf and, by some accounts, depressed and tormented by tinnitus and visions. He emerged from that illness in the late 1790s with a darker, more introspective view of humanity. He even painted scenes of mental asylums, such as Yard with Lunatics, 1794, to capture the despair of insanity. Goya, perhaps more than most of his contemporaries, greatly feared mental illness and the loss of one's reason. It haunted him as a possibility in his own life. This fear permeates his art in recurring motifs of madness, nightmares, and irrationality taking hold. In The Bewitched Man, Goya found a perfect vessel to explore this theme. Don Claudio's terror might be rooted in superstition, but the psychological effect is indistinguishable from genuine madness. His world is shrunk to the glow of a single lamp. All logic, all outside voices, all reassurance have been snuffed out. In that claustrophobic mental space, the unreal has become real to him. The brilliance of Goya's approach is that he walks the line between real and imagined so expertly in the painting that the viewer feels Claudio's confusion. The devil and phantoms around Claudio are painted with the same tangible brushstrokes as the man himself. There is no visual clue that they're illusions. We, standing outside the canvas, know that the apparitions are manifestations of a trick, or even symbolic manifestations of Claudio's own mind. But in the painted moment, under the spell of chiaroscuro and drama, a part of us almost believes it too. We catch ourselves thinking, what if the flame really does hold his life? This subtle tug of irrationality is Goya's way of putting us momentarily in Claudio's panicked mind. It's a discomforting place to be. In the end, The Bewitched Man is far more than an anecdote about a duped priest. It is a meditation on the cost of belief. Goya invites us to ask, what price do we pay when we surrender our reason to fear? Don Claudio's dignity is shredded, his sanity teeters on the edge, and he nearly loses the chance at real happiness, all because he believed a lie. The painting's original viewers would have enjoyed the clever jab at superstition, but as the laughter faded, an unsettling truth would linger in the mind, like the echo of a devil's chuckle. The secret that Goya reveals in this cinematic charged tableau is that the most terrifying demons are the ones we create ourselves. The devil in the painting may be a fraud, but the terror on Claudio's face is genuine, and it was summoned from within his own mind. The true monster here is blind belief, the kind that preys on our vulnerabilities and suspends our critical thinking. In Goya's time, that monster fed on fears of witches and curses. Today, it may take different forms, yet it remains just as dangerous. Superstition, propaganda, mass hysteria, these are all lamps of the devil that still light up the darkness, seeking to ensnare the unwary.